It's good to have you join us today. Glad that you can.
I appreciate the invitation.
Well, hopefully it'll be good. Hey, Lee Hudson.
Oh, hello, District Governor Andy Shusett. I should say past District Governor since I'm one of those with you.
Or you're a PDG too.
That's right.
Lots of them on here today.
Past, dead, and gone.
Hello, Lee. How are you?
Luther, good to hear your voice. Did you take a bath today? I don't see your face.
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
Are you still shaved?
Andy, is it so safe to assume these are some folks in Eastern North Carolina?
Bunch of people from Rotary. I got two past district governors on here that were my classmates. So, and one or two other people might be joining us too.
Amazing, great. Well, we'll do guest introductions here shortly. It looks like we'll have several today, which is always good to see.
Hey, Jamil.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Long time no see.
Thank you. I know. How you been?
Good.
Good. Hey,
How are things at Med Deli?
Hello, my friend.
Good. Everything's going okay. Thank you.
Good.
Glad to be here with you guys.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Eddie, how do you know all these people?
I've been in Chapel Hill for a long time. And I worked downtown for a long time.
No, that's good. I mean, you were working hard and in the right direction.
I hope so.
Do we have any Duke fans in our club? John, I know you're a bit of an oddball with Virginia fan. Do we have any Duke fans here? Any that would be willing to admit that they are?
I do.
Jamil says.
Jamil, you are?
I am a Duke fan. I actually used to feed the Duke basketball and football team before I came to Chapel Hill. 90, I want to say 89 and 90.
Okay.
And I came to Chapel Hill and things didn't go well to start.
It isn't readily admitted on Franklin Street.
Yeah, this is recorded, and this is especially today. It's kind of public, so you might it's dangerous to admit considering
You are who you are. So
Jamil is going to be joining us as a guest speaker one of these days as well.
thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
That sounds great.
Before we get to the heart of the matter today, there are a couple announcements that Eric, that I'd like to do.
Okay. Yeah, let's start with announcements first, and then after that we'll get into the guest speakers, just because that'll give it a couple minutes for other folks to join. I think I know I invited a couple of guests that may be joining, so yeah, let's kick it off with the announcements.
Okay, as you know, tomorrow the leadership team pre-pets meeting is scheduled, as well as the afternoon grants management session. Due to impending inclement weather, we may or may not have that meeting. Got an email from Tommy Rosser, our district governor, and a couple other people about it. So just stay tuned tomorrow morning. I think if it's postponed, we'll get an email from Karen Pollard, who's been Herculean in her ability to get this whole thing scheduled and planned. And most likely we'll hear from other, either the district governor Tommy or Governor-elect Chris. So I can also tell you that if it's postponed, and we don't know that it will be, they've already reset the date for March 6th. So if you want to pencil that in tentatively until we find out what goes tomorrow, that'd be good. I'll let Connolly tell us about the St. Patty's Day.
want to make sure we share with you all, I just dropped it in the chat, the link to purchase your bingo tickets. Our fundraiser is Thursday, March 11th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. You can share this link with your friends and networks to invite them. One bingo card is $10, 3 is $25. And then Evan has also worked really hard for us to turn our scholarship application into an electronic Google form. So Evan, I don't know if that's something you can drop in the chat or we can get it to John to share, but we'll make sure we share it with the high school guidance counselors. But because it's virtual or electronic, we can share it on our personal Facebook or LinkedIn so we can reach more Northwood parents and students. Do you want to hop in with that, Evan?
Yeah, I can. I don't know how I'd be able to share it in the chat, but I'll definitely be able to share the link with John and then through the next newsletter. And very, very, very easy to share online with it being as a Google form.
Awesome.
That's all for us. Thank you.
Okay. Take note, please, in the newsletter, page 4. As I said last week, Rotary has something called Rotary Works. If you know of anybody who's between jobs, looking to get a job, friends, family, doesn't have to be Rotarian. There are, I think, 4 different seminars that Rotary is holding to help you find a job and get a job. So you can read more about that on page 4. Lastly, I wanted you to know that I'm trying to find it. Yeah, I'm still trying to find it. On page 5, in the Rotarian, I believe, North Carolina, Central North Carolina districts made it to the Rotarian, which is our global magazine, about the COVID-19 vaccination efforts that we've been a part of. And so we got major props, not our club per se, but our district along with, I think it's 5 other districts, for being progressive and ahead of the curve in trying to help support COVID vaccinations.
That's great.
Yeah. Lastly, I think everybody's good, but that needs to be. But the last day to sign up for PETS, the President-elect training, so that's in particular Katie, Patrick, and any of the other board members that would like to attend. They're not required to attend. In any case, Saturday is the last day to register. So if you haven't registered yet, please do so if you intend to go. And that's all I got. Yeah.
Great. Just a couple follow-ups from last week. I haven't heard back from Tommy. We're trying to figure out how to induct the members that are joining through the Satellite Club. I think it's probably going to be best that we do that at their club meeting, which is Andy, is it the first or the second Tuesday?
Sorry about that. I muted myself. Second Tuesday.
Okay, second Tuesday of the month, each month. So I think it would probably make the most sense for us to join them, just because one of the reasons that they're in that club and not our club is time constraints. So more to come on that. Just waiting to hear back from Tommy to see if he has some ideas. And also for district conference, it sounds like we are still planning on doing it and it just being limited. But there is a way to join virtually as well. So I think that, continue to think if it is something that you would want to go to in person or in virtually, we need to get some people signed up for that. And to the Grove Park in person, and of course virtually, you can be where you want to be. So I think that's all I have. Oh, the Valentine's Day cards, that went well. We dropped them off, and I know that they really appreciate it. So thanks again for doing that. That's all I have for announcements. Any other announcements out there? Great. Any brags out there?
I don't have any brags, but I was going to introduce two of the guests that I have for today. Lee Hudson, who's not sitting in his chair right now, and Luther Moore, who was from Charlotte. They were both AGs the same year I was, so they're my classmates, and decided to join, both Carolina fans, obviously, so they're here today to listen to Eric, and just wanted to give both of them a shout out. We'll wait till Lee comes back and we'll give them a round of applause for their good work. Lee is from Raleigh, so he was in 7710, and Luther, I don't remember what your district number. I think you were 7680,
680.
if I'm not mistaken.
I'm from Charlotte.
Okay. Charlotte, we do appreciate you being.
Welcome.
Have it all. And I know we have a couple more guest speakers if y'all wouldn't mind introducing any guests that you might have on.
I brought Jamil Kadora today. He is the owner of Mediterranean Deli on Franklin Street in Chapel Hill. If you haven't been there, you should be going there sometime soon. Jamil has graciously agreed to be our guest speaker at some point in the not too distant future. So he knows Eric, and he's going to sit in today and kind of see how we operate. So he's a little more prepared when he comes back to speak to us.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Jamil. Look forward to hearing you.
Thank you.
Love your food.
Thank you.
I have Jessica Coltrane on the call, who has joined us before, but she is in the Robbins Rotary Club, and I think she's got her camera off because she's eating some lunch and multitasking while doing this.
Great to have you, Jessica.
I am. Thanks for having me again. Huge Carolina fan, so anytime you have somebody like that on here, I'm going to be on.
Sounds great. Yeah, welcome back anytime.
Thanks.
And
I see Luther's back.
I'm waiting for Lee.
let's see. What about We've got Twin Terry and Chris Denning. Would y'all like to say a couple words, or are those guys?
Oh, Chris is my guest. Sorry, I didn't see him on there. I went through the thing and didn't see. Chris works with me at Fidelity Bank, and so he's joining us. Also a fellow Carolina fan.
Nice, great to have you, Chris. And then what about Twin Terry? I see it doesn't. I saw him earlier, but I don't see him now. Is that a guest?
He is filming the meeting. He introduced himself to John. He's from the Jonesboro Club.
Great.
And doing something for David today, the AG.
Wonderful. I think that does it for guest speakers. Yeah, like I said, great to have you all join us for bingo night. Come back when we have Carolina speakers, or come back any other week. Always good to see you, any occasion. Let's see. Last up, we don't have Lonnie, but do we have any trivia?
Dude, I feel like you might might be a good sub for Lenny. I don't know. I feel like there's some random facts in that head.
You're gonna put me on the spot.
Well, it used to be Eric Andrews that was the fill-in, and it was kind of fun to watch him scramble. But at this point, he's the first day that he comes back, he's gonna owe us about 20 trivia points. So make sure you prepare for that.
Well, while Newt's thinking, I've got another $5. In this case, it's a $5 good news. So my good news is that this afternoon after this meeting, I'm going to Goldsboro. I'm getting my second vaccination.
Wonderful.
So I'll be all set and ready. Cindy gets her second on her birthday, March 8th. And we're both volunteering at the vaccination events on the 1st and the 8th. So we'll see a bunch of you out there.
I get my second next Monday. I can't wait. And Lee Hudson is back. So I just introduced you and Luther, Lee, earlier. So welcome to the Pittsboro Rotary Club. Glad to have both of you distinguished gentlemen here, and hope you enjoy it. Now we just need our speaker.
Yeah, it's great to be with you. I think I recognize a few faces that may have taken an RLI class or two that I might have helped facilitate, so that's good. And I encourage you all now that RLI is online to check your calendar, your district calendar. You'll see where there's several virtual RLI sessions now on the calendar that you can take and that other districts are hosting. So I'll be facilitating one this Saturday for level 1 out of District 7610 in Northern Virginia. So I'd love for you all to be RLI graduates, and now you can do it. You used to, you had to wait probably a year and a half to do that. Now you can do it in probably 3 months if you pay attention to the calendar.
It's good to know.
Great.
Well,
Great
after that, you'll find some of those dates on the newsletter calendar.
Eric will be on here in the next minute or so. They had that basketball game thrown on the schedule last minute this evening, so he asked to skip the intros and announcements and come on it when it's time to talk. So I told him 12:20, and he's a pretty prompt guy, so he should be on any minute now.
That sounds great. Yeah, and I'm apparently someone didn't get the Zoom link, so I'm trying to get them the link hopefully before he gets here. But in the meantime, it sounds like he should be here any second.
I think I saw where Tyler Hansbrough is going to be doing the broadcast tonight. Is that anybody else see that?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that he's back in the States doing some news, some type of sports news. So be good to catch up with him, find out how long he's gonna be back in the States. We had him as a speaker here once before, and hopefully we can get him again.
I just talked to him last weekend, but I did not think about talking to him about speaking to us again. So I will do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That was interesting when he talked the last time. I thought he did a good job with mixing what he could with China and stuff. So
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a tough situation to talk too much about in detail about COVID, given their political environment. I think he had to stay pretty hands off with diving any deeper into it than he did.
So is he still playing ball in China right now, or is he moved back here?
Not this season. Mm-mm.
Okay.
But he hasn't said whether he's gonna go back or not. But
And Newton and John, if you two see someone trying to join in from a phone number, that's probably my dad. It seems like he's having a tough time getting in, but hopefully he'll be joining soon.
Hopefully
Yeah, so-
Eric's not having a hard time getting in.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from him, so let's see. I'll text him.
I invited Jamil when Tyler came, but I think Jamil was busy that day.
Say that again.
I said, I invited you when Tyler came, but I guess you were busy that day. Maybe you were being
Yeah,
too much of a
yeah,
Duke fan that day.
Yeah, I see him pretty often. He's here once or twice a week.
Okay, Eric should be joining us momentarily.
Yeah.
And there he is.
Hey there, Eric.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey
guys, how are you?
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Of course, sorry to barge in. I have no idea what conversation I'm breaking up, but I'm sure it's
It's not all that enthralling. We just went through general announcements, and we're kind of at the point where we're ready for you. If you don't mind, I'm going to introduce you. I know you are on a tight schedule today with the game, if that's all right with you.
make it short, Katie. You know, one thing I'm not is short, but I don't need a long introduction.
Should the highlight
You
reel.
can just call me some nasty names, you know, then we'll move on.
I would never do that. There is nothing nasty about you. It's my pleasure to welcome Eric Montross as our guest speaker today. Most of you probably know Eric from his time playing basketball at UNC, where he wore 00 as the center for the Tar Heels. He was a part of the UNC team that won the NCAA championship against Michigan in 1993. He was named an All-American as a junior and senior. And after his collegiate career, Eric was selected by the Boston Celtics as the 9th overall pick in the 1994 NBA draft. He went on to play in the NBA until 2003. He's now a color commentator on the Tar Heel Sports Network men's basketball broadcast. And Eric's passions align well with that of us Rotarians. He co-founded an organization called Vaccine Ambassadors, and they aim to distribute vaccines all over the world, especially to developing countries, so really aligns well with the whole polio promise that we have. He also started the Eric Montross Father's Day basketball camp in 1994, and that has raised over $1 million for the UNC Children's Hospital. Eric preferred to have this more as a town hall format, so I'll let him kick us off, and thank you so much for joining us today, Eric.
Well, Katie, thank you. And I know that I'm looking around, and John, I know you got your Carolina shirt on tonight, for tonight's game. It's been what a crazy season for anybody that's followed college athletics of any kind. And then I'm sitting here, I look over at Evan, like Evan he's like, who is that guy? Like you introduced me as you may have watched him playing for Carolina, and he's like, I wasn't even born in the same century. So Evan, I'm not being ugly. I'm just remarking at how young you are and how old I feel sometimes. So, I really do appreciate the introduction, Katie. It's awfully nice of you. And one of the things that you said struck a chord, which is that I think the thing that you all and I have in common right off the bat is that you do have an interest in helping others through the Rotary Club and through some of the things that my wife and I have been involved with for many, many, many years. It's use your platform, whatever your platform is, whether it's athletics or whether it's business or whether it's community based. Use your platform to do something good. At least try, and that's a real breath of fresh air. So really enjoy speaking with folks who have common interests. Not everybody has to have a common interest with me to talk to me, but it's nice to be in a group setting that but I know you guys do have that mindset. I really do. I told Kate. She said, "Can you, give a bit of a presentation?" I don't know, Katie, that you may not have called it a presentation, but and I said, "Gosh, I don't mind talking about the things that I normally talk about, which is I am announcer for Carolina basketball. I can talk them back and forth and sideways." And I can talk about my work within the university and athletics fundraising and the mission of scholarship and all of those things, which I deeply believe in, especially since I'm a product of that, the latter most comment. But I also think that I would love to just hear from you all on questions that you would enjoy talking about, and if there's a way for me to take that and launch that into our conversation, I'm happy to do so. So it's probably not a fair question to ask if we want to start off with questions. I think maybe I'll just lead in. Don't be offended if you don't want to hear about Carolina basketball. It's fine. Don't raise your hand. But does anybody want me to kind of talk about the current season and then launch into some questions and let you all take it from there? Does that sound like a plan?
That sounds good.
All right. Okay. So we'll do that. Despite the fact that Luther's wearing red today, I'll assume that that's a holiday hangover is what I'll go with, but not the fact that he's supporting NC State. Is that right, Luther?
Davidson.
Oh, well, that's a great school. I've got a very good friend whose daughter is there in school right now. So very good. Your buddy Steph Curry is playing mighty well right now. Have you followed him some?
Not too much, yeah. And his brother is doing quite well too.
Yep.
They're both dynamic right now.
They are indeed. Well, I'll start off with Carolina. Right now they sit at 12-7. They're 7-5 in the conference, and they've got a ton of youth that they're relying upon. Their strength is primarily on the inside. Although it's been nice for all of us who beg for some perimeter prowess, Kerwin Walton seems to be, starting to get that. Kerwin is shooting almost 45% from behind the arc. Giving an example is not a good stat, but the stat from last game, there were 2 3-pointers made. It was only Kerwin that made them. The rest of the team was 0 of 10 from behind the arc. So, Kerwin looks like an absolute all-star right now when those numbers are there. Obviously, that's something that Carolina needs to show the balance of scoring. It's something that we talk about an awful lot. That in basketball, much like any sport, if it's a one front show, then you're not going to go very far. And right now, Carolina has got to find a way to balance their scoring. We've seen it. We've seen it on occasions with Caleb Love having dynamic nights. We've seen it when Kerwin Walton and the interior presence of Day'Ron Sharp and Armando Bacot and Garrison Brooks and Walker Kessler all have big games. In fact, Walker had a nice game the other evening, one of the bright spots on a relatively morbid feeling game against Virginia the other evening up in Charlottesville. So, this team is growing. They are by no means, does it always feel good? It's still pretty bumpy. But I think that this team also, like a lot of college teams right now, is faced with the fact that during COVID, you're about a month behind just in the development standpoint for your players. It's not an excuse. It's just probably I'm hoping that it's a realistic explanation for why a lot of teams are underachieving at this point. Now you can quickly point to teams like Virginia, even though they got shellacked by Florida State the other night. That's a team that is really doing well. And I think that largely I would go back to another point, which is that youth is not something that you always want to rely upon in pressure situations. This conference is not a conference that is designed to have youth succeed. Youth, I'm talking about freshmen. We got a lot of freshman impact players. Last game in Virginia, we had 5 freshmen on the court at one point in time, and it's not that they can't do it. It's just that it's hard. And so I think that a lot of times what you see is that you become much more of a consistent player as you mature. If you think about your own personal situation, in whatever you do that you think you're pretty good at, or you think you're polished. Think about the first time you did it and think about if you were to do it again today. Probably some corners that you would cut, some edges would be a little softer and more rounded, and you'd probably be much more efficient than the day that you first started doing whatever it is that you're thinking about. Now, I think that's the way I equate our freshmen right now, and really not just on this team, but on any team. And that's why I think it's so hard, even though the trend has gone to college athletics getting younger. I think that it's very hard to rely upon that for substantive performances. So with that, I'm happy to dig into anything in specific questions you may have. I will add the other thing that I've been doing now for 12 years is athletic fundraising within the university, within the Educational Foundation. It's also the Rams Club, so some of you probably Rams Club members. And our mission is scholarship, and that's what I've enjoyed supporting. I never saw myself as a fundraiser, and oftentimes I cringe when I think about that because of how many I've been approached by over the years that just were kind of checking the box. And for me, it's been really kind of a work of passion to say that long term we're possibly affecting the trajectory of Carolina in a positive way by being a part of a fundraising machine that is building a scholarship endowment, building operating endowments, building opportunities for the women and the men that we bring in as student athletes. And that's been a real treat. It's obviously a distant past, but it's not too distant in my mind that I did walk that walk, as I mentioned earlier, and the opportunity that was gifted to me because we are one of the unique situations in college athletics that our athletic department does not pay for the scholarships of our student athletes. The Educational Foundation fundraises and holds an endowment that turns off that bill every year, and that bill every year is about $18.5 million. So it's a big one. It's one that we're proud to support. And that's the bulk of what I do for most of my day job. I moonlight as a basketball announcer and as a guy that has been around the game a lot, which is fun to do. So with that, Katie, why don't we open it up for questions? And I'm gonna. Sometimes I can keep. If I go to the chat, I think I cut some of you guys off of my page, so I'm sure there's a more efficient way to do that. But you want to just. Katie, you want to kind of catch any questions that are going into chat, and then if anybody has a question, just jump in it.
Yes, sure. Unmute as you guys want to. Go ahead, Jamil.
Thank you. Hi, Eric. This is Jamil, Mediterranean Deli. Good to see you.
Hey, Jamil. I thought I saw you over there.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, fine. I hope you will.
Do you mind if I toot your horn for a second?
Absolutely.
I know you're going to mind, so I'm just going to do it anyway. But Jamil, so they have just been incredible supporters of our camp and our work with the Children's Hospital. And so, Jamil, just if I was wearing a cap, I'd tip it to you right now. Just so much appreciate your support of Laura and me. And you guys have been so huge in this community. And your impact is fantastic. So consider you a friend and also a colleague as we work in this community. And thank you so much. So glad to have a chance to say hello today.
Thank you. I'm very aware of what you do in the community, and I'm really proud to have known you and to talk about you, which I always do. I actually tell people I have his cell number in my pocket. So anyway, I wanted to ask a question, basketball question, two questions really quick. Why is the 00, the number you wore? I always wonder. The second question is, we know that COVID impacted all team in different ways, mostly in a negative way. Did COVID impacted younger team more than older teams because of they didn't get to bond together? You know how players live together and go out to dinner together. Did that affect more younger teams than older teams?
Yeah, sure, Jamil. So great. Both those are good questions. The first one's kind of a fun answer for me. So I'll start with that. It's a less serious topic, I suppose, to have a jersey number versus our pandemic that we're all living through. When I was in high school, I was, of course, course, recruited by a number of schools, but I did not want to wear. I was always given the biggest jersey in high school and growing up in Indiana, and the biggest jersey equated to the biggest number. So I was always 52, 53, 55. You know, it was awful. I was like, I'm going opposite end of the spectrum. So I was like, 00. And so I got here and then realized that was Coach Smith's number when he was at Kansas.
Oh wow!
And I had no idea that was the case, but it's kind of a fun little tidbit to think about. And then to your question, it's a really good question about COVID. I do think, you think just about how all of us individually have been affected in the last 13 months, and you think about how it's impacted our lives just socially. And you think about the development of young people. I think that there are a lot of things. I mean, I think all of us would say that hopefully we're managing some of the stressors that this pandemic puts on all of us. But I also think that when you think about younger people, it's a huge dynamic to think about, and to think about the impact in a developing, and these are formative years for our student athletes on campus and for our students on campus. And when they're starved of many of the things that we all enjoyed, the camaraderie of friends, the being able to get together with more than just your roommates, you do build a camaraderie. And I do think that that's the strength of what we would often refer to as chemistry on a basketball team. And that chemistry, although you can build it through your practices and through your travel to away games and all, it's tough. And so, to quantify the effect, Jamil, I don't know the best way to do that. I just know that whatever effect COVID has had, it may not mean that we would be winning all of our games, but I do think that the effect is significant. How that would translate into wins and losses, I don't know, but for sure, when you have a younger team, you just think about it. For those of us who have children, grandchildren, friends that have younger families, it's a huge burden, and that is not lost on anyone. That's the effect right now for a lot of our college athletes and students.
Thank you.
Thank
There's
you.
a couple questions in the chat. Jessica said, have you ever thought of being a coach? Roy isn't getting any younger.
I have never put those two thoughts in the same sentence. No, it's really fun. I think that it's easy. I love thinking about the game. I love thinking about strategy. I love dissecting some of the things that I've lived. I mean, I'm 49 years old, and I started playing in a church league when I was like 7. So, for the last 42 years, I've been around the same game, and all the way into 10 years in the NBA, and I've played for Hall of Fame coaches at every level. Be at high school in Indiana, Hall of Fame coach, obviously Coach Smith, Hall of Fame coach, played for Lenny Wilkins, the Hall of Fame coach in the NBA, played, with teams who had tradition and history. And so it's been a wonderful addition to my life, and something that I think has given me a real platform to try to work off of. But coaching, especially in college, is a different beast. The one thing, Coach Williams is just nonstop go. I mean, obviously COVID has curtailed what he normally does, but normally if they have a day off, he's on an airplane and he's going to recruit. The college recruiting, I think that's one of the things that we, long term, probably has the greatest toll on coaches, is just the wear down effect of recruiting. And honestly, I think it wears the student athletes down as well, because it's a pretty intense process. Some self-inflicted, other not so much. But who knows? Just like both jobs that I'm currently doing, I never thought that I would be an announcer. I never thought that I would be a fundraiser. So I know better than to shut the door on anything these days.
And our little future Carolina basketball player with Dawn there wants to know if you'll think UNC will win against Northeastern tonight.
Yes, what's this big guy's name? He looks like he's a future power forward. John, what's your son's name?
Hi, I'm
I'm so sorry,
This
buddy. We were
Emmett.
breaking up a little bit.
This is Emmett.
Hey, Emmett. All right, big fella. All right, you looking forward to the game starts at 7 o'clock tonight. Is that early enough where you're going to be able to watch a little bit of it?
yeah. If we
Good.
go to ESPN.
That's right. Maybe you'll need to pop some popcorn so you can get yourself ready for the Tar Heels tonight. So, yes, I think I was looking. In fact, Emmett, look, I'm studying Northeastern right here on my game sheets, and they're not bad. Yes, they are. Would you like to take my job, man? You could come to the Smith Center tonight and put on the headset.
I watch almost every single basketball game.
I love that. That's awesome. I love that. That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for cheering on the Tar Heels, okay? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up, Emmett. What's that?
Yeah, and on Saturday they're playing Louisville.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. You think we're gonna do okay? You think we can beat the Cardinals?
Louisville is right with them.
They're not bad, are they? Well, Emmett, we'll be better tonight because you're cheering for us, buddy. So thanks so much. I'm glad to know that you'll be there pulling for us. Andy, I know that you had a question, and I don't know, maybe Katie, we're going out of order, but I know Andy's raised his hand on a couple of occasions, and he's in the center of my screen. So what you got, Andy?
Well, first of all, I thank you for all that you do with all the clinics. My nephew, Nathan Bierman, has had his boys at your clinic over times and say you do great things. My question is sort of two-part about the one and dones. You had mentioned it some, but what is our team looking like for anyone going one and done, and how does the one and done be affected by COVID and the quote success of Kentucky and Duke this year? It's just, I've never been a fan of it, but because I see the development and how the players get better every year as they go through, and I think they're a better ball player by their senior year. And we can see that in who wins the tournament. A lot of the times, teams that go long are all seniors, have played together for 4 years. If I'm not mistaken, Calipari, even though he's had the top recruiting class, has never been to the Final Four since the first year that he did one and done. And then he had a couple of upperclassmen on that team. So I was just looking for your insight to one and dones, and then more specifically, how it's going to relate to Carolina.
Yeah, great. So Andy, thanks a lot. You've tipped off to a topic that is I consider to be my soapbox topic. So Katie's gonna have to pull the soapbox from underneath me to get me to stop talking about this. I'll try and be succinct with my answer, so we have time to get a couple more folks in. But this is a really good one. I think number one, kind of the overarching theme of what I would say about one and dones is that the NBA does draft on potential, but more and more when you think about particularly, I think that if you're thinking about going pro after 1 year, you better be a top 10 lottery pick. And I think that there's just so much unknown, even though you could go number 19 and still make a 7-figure salary over the course of your career. You got a 3-year guarantee. And, in the top 10, you're making really substantive money. I guess anybody in the NBA is, but The fact of the matter is that I think that what the NBA really wants to do is draft consistency. And so as a freshman, it's hard to do, unless you have kind of a book of experience that shows consistency and shows marked level of excellence. The NBA is going to be pretty picky about you. And, I think you saw, Kobe White developed for us a couple of years ago. Nobody thought Kobe was going to be a lottery pick after his freshman year. And he was, because he played his way into that. But that was not the expectation going into the season. Last year with Cole Anthony, that the expectation was that he would be gone after 1 year. And Cole had a number of injuries throughout the season, didn't have a great body of work, but showed a lot of potential, and was drafted on that. Now, I think with Caleb Love as a top point guard in the country coming into college, one of the challenges that Caleb has is to give that consistency if he is indeed going to make the jump into the NBA as a lottery pick. And to me, the thing that is, and I don't know, maybe Coach or anybody else would dispute this, I think that it's hard for a point guard at Carolina to be fully developed. When you think about the point guards that have been the point guards on championship teams, they're not freshmen. Marvin Williams was a freshman on the 05 team that won the championship, but he wasn't a point guard. He was a tremendous player. And I'm not saying that these aren't really good players. What I'm saying is that the book of work that you have to know, the book of knowledge in order to call every offensive set, call every defensive set based off of reads that you're making. You're not looking over at Coach Williams to see what the offenses or defenses are. That's your job. As the point guard in the Carolina system, that's your job. And it's tough. And so I think that's why you see such, most of the time on really good players, whether they're, for any freshman in the Carolina system, but particularly with a point guard, it's a slow learning curve at first, and then it begins to increase and get more steep over time, and it accelerates, and so does their consistency in their play. Certainly, all this being said, Andy, you look a lot better when you have a really good, high-performing team that is alongside of you. And it takes some of the burden of performance off of you and allows it to be dispersed to your teammates. And that's the mark of a championship team. Right now, we don't have a championship team. We're a building team. We're one that is searching for that consistency in a variety of different ways. I think that, is there a chance Caleb goes pro? Sure. Is there a chance that Daron Sharp or Armando goes pro? Sure. I choose to, because I'm an old fuddy-duddy, I think I look back and I think, wouldn't it be great to see those guys come back next year, and how much fun it would be to watch a high-performing individual and team that's just got a couple years under their belt. I mean, you think about the physical maturity, the mental maturity that any, and this is not specific to our guys, you think about any student on Carolina's campus. Again, I talked to you earlier about the first day that you did your job, and if you're still in it, you're more proficient now than you were on day one. When you think about day one versus now, it's a huge difference. And I know that may be a larger span of time than the 4 years in college, but you cannot underestimate the impact of having time to learn and to put a book of experiences under your belt. I think that's how I would answer that, Andy.
Newt had a follow-up question to that. Newt, go ahead.
Hey, Newt.
Sorry, I had a little trouble unmuting there. Hi, Eric. Thank you for joining us today. I was going to kind of ask Andy's question, but one level deeper on that. Now we're seeing these kids that are opting out before the end of the season. And, we see it, I think we see it more in football, or maybe it's more prominent, the kid that doesn't want to play the bowl game or whatever. Don't these kids, and I was not a student athlete, so I'm looking for your perspective on this. Don't these kids have an obligation to earn that scholarship that they're given and finish the season?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't think I mean, it's a good question. I don't think there's an easy answer. I think particularly this year, I mean, Jalen Johnson's really, for the young man for Duke, is the first one that I know of that opted out the remainder of this season. From a basketball perspective, and feel free to throw out other names of folks who've done it. I just am not pulling any off the top of my head. But, I think that this year, I think it's kind of open season for things that you've never thought could possibly happen. Well, guess what? Saddle up, because it's going to happen. I think we're also seeing that in sports. I think that, Jalen, I have no idea what happened with Jalen to have his personal situation develop to that or manifest the way that it did. But he's been injured, and it may be that he just needs time to get right. And I don't know what that means. I know there are programs that have, in the Ivies that cut down all their sports for this season and aren't playing at all. And I know that, like, Duke women's team went out and said early on they're not going to play. I just think there's, from that standpoint, and I know that's not addressing the opt-out generally, but this situation, I think this year is just a year that we kind of have to chalk up to who knows. And I don't know that we ever will. As far as the opt-outs go in football, not really my bailiwick to talk about, but I do think that's, it's a bit more of a challenge because for a lot of these kids, and look, I am a team guy. Like, if there's ever been a way to describe Eric, he's a part of a team. I would much rather be team than individual. I'm better that way, whether it's in my work or whether it's individually. It's just who I am. So let that be the fabric that I'm getting ready to step onto here. I think in football, it's a hard go. You think about kids that have played an entire season, and then we're telling them to take a break and then go play in a bowl game that, unless you're in the playoffs, has no bearing on anything. And you're in a sport where you have a much higher likelihood of having a career-ending injury or a significant injury that could impact your future on a single play. And so I think that that's something that a lot of these young men, primarily young men in football, are thinking about. I think it's also the job of college athletics to figure out how to make it such that people don't feel like it's a game that means nothing. I know the coaches certainly would like to have their guys. I know that coaches are surprised when some of their players opt out, but tough situation, not one that I profess to have an answer to. I try to think, if it were my son or daughter in a position like that, and they decided to opt out, how would I feel? I know what my gut says, but I'm not sure if I were that close to the situation, what I would say.
Thank you.
Not a very good answer, Newt. I apologize for that, but I just don't have a great answer. I think they're really valid and tough questions.
John Ebert had a question in the chat. If you have the top 3 issues and resolutions for scholarship fundraising, because we do scholarship fundraising on a much smaller scale than you, and we might benefit from that experience.
Yeah, well, I think, look, I'm not a fundraiser. I've never been trained as a fundraiser, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm great at it. But I will tell you this: when I have had success, either with our camp, with Jamil, I know I'll reference you again. I think the thing that attracted Jamil to our support is transparency, and the fact that you can see impact. So he knows, and I'm using Jamil as an example because I know he won't mind, and it's not really about him, it's more about the concept. He knows that every dollar that we raise goes to the Children's Hospital. We have an underwriting for our camp every year, and so every dollar that's raised, everything that's donated, ends up helping the kids at the hospital. So that's our transparency, that's our impact. If I'm fundraising for the Rams Club, for scholarship. I'm talking to folks about an opportunity that I experienced, and I know firsthand how it has completely changed the trajectory of my life and how it has impacted it from that point on. Maybe not changed the trajectory, all is the right way to say it, but certainly impacted positively from the time I came to Carolina until now. I'm still here. This university continues to give to me, and I try to give back to it. And what I would say is that just transparency and impact and believing in a cause, and also listening to people and not making the assumption that they want to give to, just because you believe passionately about something doesn't mean that somebody else is going to. Doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that they have a different set of kind of guiding principles for their philanthropy. So I go back to honesty, transparency, and impact, and education about the opportunities that are out there. And then it's just trying to find the right fit. And, you know, it sounds very much like fundraiser speak, John, but, you know, the thing I celebrate the most, and I told you I'm a team guy, if you will, but the thing I celebrate the most is finding that fit for someone who sees the need that we have, they have the capacity to fill that need or to serve that need. They are ecstatic when they come to that conclusion. That's where they want their philanthropy to go. And for me to help be a conduit for that is a very rewarding position to be in. And that's where that's a win. If you just want to break it down to wins and losses, that's a win. Is that you've got someone who is exceptionally happy about giving their hard-earned funds to support someone else. And I think that's, it's not a unique message, but it's simple, and quite honestly, simple is good when you're fundraising.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
I have a basketball question, which I didn't realize until I did the research to write your intro, Eric. And you come from a long line of Michigan basketball players, University of Michigan. So how was that whenever you won that 93 championship in your home?
Yeah, that was interesting. So for those who, not that anyone should know my personal family history, but what Katie's referencing, my father played at the University of Michigan, and then my mom's father was a 3-time All-American, Hall of Fame member of the University of Michigan on basketball. He was nicknamed the Houdini of the hardwood. He was a 6'4" point guard, and that was many, many moons ago. So my aunt, uncles, parents, grandparents, my sister, all of them went to Michigan. My sister would go to Michigan 2 years after I came to Carolina. So she was in school at Michigan when we played them in the national championship in '93. And Katie, you know, kind of the way I explained it is my sister got a call from a reporter from USA Today, and they said, "Who are you cheering for tonight?" And she said, "My blood is thicker than my school colors." And so, you know, my parents the same way. I mean, you know, think of it, for those of you who have children, there's not a thing that you wouldn't do for them, and you sure as heck aren't gonna cheer for someone who's playing against them. So, you know, it was a great experience. It was a fun day, but it was certainly something. I grew up going to Ann Arbor, the wonderful, wonderful athletics town, a college town. It's much like Carolina. I mean, a large, excellent academic institution, but also has a broadly diverse sports program, and they're really good. And so there have been a lot of times that I've been inside Michigan Stadium for a football game, or been inside the arena for a basketball game growing up, or tailgating on a golf course adjacent to the football stadium and wearing maize and blue. But now I look like John when I'm not dressed for work. I'm in my Carolina t-shirt, even sometimes when I am dressed for work.
Progress of the renovation and
At least you made them Tar Heels for 4 years. So I consider that a win. I think it's good here.
Believe me, my dad's still like, "Hey, you got any extra gear? You got anything? Did anybody give you any Carolina gear? I need a new sweatsuit." I'm like, "Geez, Dad." Sure,
questions?
I don't have
Well-
a question, but I would be remiss not to take this opportunity that I'm pure starstruck. Eric, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Dana Wooten. I'm president of the Clayton Chamber of Commerce and a member of our Clayton Rotary Club. And Lee Hudson, who's on here, invited me, knowing what a huge Tar Heel fan I am. I was there during the '82 championship, and I have a caricature of you and your '93 team in my office right now.
You know what's
So,
funny? I was sitting here looking around. I've got that caricature somewhere. I think maybe in another place.
Yeah.
That's
anyway, I just
that's a
wanted to
funny
say
one.
hello.
Well, Dana, thanks so much, and thanks so much. I appreciate it. It's nice. I don't know. I'm getting Katie. Are you hearing me? Okay. I've got some feedback. I don't think it's anybody's fault but my own. But can you hear me or?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say thanks, Dana. I appreciate that. That's awfully nice of you to say. And I guess I'll wrap up with this, which is that, you know, I really do appreciate what the Rotary does. I always try to take opportunities to speak to people who are vested in the community that they live in. And I know that at its very core is what you're doing within Rotary. And Katie, you know, obviously when you called, I've known you for a lot of years, but really appreciate the offer to be here and to be a part of today's conversation. And thank you for the good and substantive questions, everybody. I appreciate that. And even Emmett, Dawn, you got to tell Emmett thanks for the good commentary that we had. And we'll try and get him a win tonight. And thanks so much, everybody. I very much appreciate being a part of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Jamil,
Thank you.
see you, buddy.
Have a great day. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Bye now.
Bye.
All right, Eric.
Great. Well, thanks again, Katie. That was amazing. Very inspiring. Let's see.
Jamil could probably tell you too if he's still on, but Eric's just that's who he is. He's like the nicest, most generous, like always willing to help the community guy.
Yeah.
Jamil jumped off, but Jamil is that same guy. Jamil does so many things for the community. And when I invited Jamil today, what he said to me was, Eric Montross has done more for the community than any Carolina player ever has.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and his wife Laura just do so much. So much.
Well, we need to, if we can, and we can vote on this as a board, but either have us do individual contributions to his foundation or do one from our club, and just, put that in a thank you note, because that was amazing for him to take the time and spend it with us.
Maybe we can table that till DJ's with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not now, but something for us to think about in the as soon as we can vote on that. Well, that said, definitely look forward to having Jamil, and we'll do the 4-way test and close out the meeting.
Oh, one comment, Katie, I don't have any idea what Eric's schedule must be. It must be Herculean, but if we could get him back for March Madness, just to get his perspective then for like 10 minutes, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'll see. I know basketball season's probably the toughest for him just because of, you saw what he was doing at his desk studying. But I'll certainly reach out whenever I tell him thank you and send him a check. I'll see if he has just 10 minutes, not the whole time, to give us during that time. Good idea.
Great. Well, we'll hop into the 4-way test. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it
The truth.
Is the truth?
Second, is it fair to all
All concerned.
Third, will it
Will
build
build goodwill and better
friendships. Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned.
All right, see y'all next week. Take care.
Everybody.
Thank you.